are back. We've got another episode of Make City Make Spence. Um,
I like that
we're
you said
back.
you're in a bit of physical pain,
Yeah,
and we are
we are
back.
back. And it's the physical pain, Sean, because we were sitting here discussing everything that we're going to talk about tonight
Yeah, yeah,
for tonight's episode. And we're kind of, talking about this is exactly how it went. We're sitting here talking about, oh yeah, women, they're back in action tonight, or this weekend they got Louisville Triumph coming up. It's should be a good game. And then we started, okay, well, what about the men's side here? Kind of, well, we'll get to it.
yeah, yeah.
We'll get to it because there was more news coming out today. It just seems like everything going on with the men's side right now is you are like you know, polishing a nice shiny turd, and it goes and that's good to say for actual Detroit City FC and the league itself. So, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. Sean, how are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Um, I times are tough in the U.S. of A, and uh, I am feeling it deeply. So it's
Yeah.
sort of, well, you like it's one thing to spend your life in anticipation of the of people sort of the blinders falling from people's eyes and people going, oh my god, like the system is like corrupt and designed to fuck us. And then to have things like the release of the Epstein files
Hmm.
reveal that that is much more literally true than even someone as cynical as I was prepared to countenance. Um, we are living through a period uh, of elite failure and elite collapse that I would say is unprecedented, but seems to have been the rule rather than the exception throughout history. And the only reason we don't know it is because they write history. So
The
yeah, it's
rulers
a
write the
bummer.
history.
Times are bummers right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, furthering the bummer vibe. I did write a piece in Words About Shapes that I'm sure we'll get around to. That will at least be referenced. It was available only for subscribers, but I made it free because some people said they wanted to show it to other people. So you can
Hmm.
go look at that. If we talk about that tonight, I'm probably not going to get all the way into it, but
Sure.
like it's easy enough to go read it for free on the internet. So,
But I want to throw it out there. Patreon.com/words about shapes.
mm,
It's only $3, right? Yeah.
right. Yep.
Only
Well,
$3.
$3 if you pay for it. This one you don't have to pay for. You can just read it.
Yep.
Um,
And
uh,
then
yeah, sorry.
no, no, I was gonna say, yeah, it's always a great read. Sean is an excellent storyteller, to say the very, very least. And I know he probably doesn't like me sitting here complimenting him while we're on the air, but I will say,
Struggle
anybody
with
out
it.
there,
Yes.
I'm going to make Sean very, very uncomfortable right now. But anybody out there who hasn't subscribed yet, like I said, it's only $3. And if you like storytelling, if you like Detroit City FC, um, you can't go wrong with it. But anyways, Sean,
Yeah.
we've got
So, right now with City, we have long documented my sort of disappointment and um, upset generally with them, and that was sort of the topic of the
Mhm.
story. It was like, why is it hard for me to write about them right now? Well, this is why. Um, and a lot of it centers around um, Daniela Dicchio, our manager, who um, you know, apparently is, a guy who does not see the value in a multimodal conversational workplace. He prefers a dictatorial type of situation. Um, and I think that's incompatible with human freedom and seeking the best out of the talented people that you're hiring and all of that. It's cratering your your principles to cover for one person's insecurity. But this is where we are. So, hey, all we can do at this point is evaluate the work that's being done by Mr. Dikio and see whether it's of such a high standard that it makes sense that the people that we thought wouldn't do those kinds of things did do those kinds of things. Like, okay, well, maybe there's some variables here we're just not aware of, right? Like, so the variables could be one, generational greatness. Like this guy is incredibly good at this, and like we're just going to kind of go along to get along for right now. Or two, blackmail. um, which, in today's darkened world, I think we can't completely uh, rule out. And then three, it would be a sort of um, finding a surprising sympathy um, with those opinions. And all of those are bad options, right? Um, except the first one. So, in football, results wash everything. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Sir Alex Ferguson. um, I think it's probably not like a great guy to hang out with a lot of the time, right? A dictatorial, commanding. Like, sure, he may have developed some thoughtfulness, once he hit like 70, but that's whitewashing, like 50 years of being just a monstrous, impulsive, ragey dickhead. But he got the teams winning, and so that's what we remember. And that's I think we should remain cognizant that that is always in play in sport. We can look at this roster and go, and all they got to do to prove us wrong is just prove us wrong. It's just go out there and win matches, right? It's not like they gotta write a position paper. You know, they gotta prove it in words. They don't have to. They can go out and take action. So I encourage them to do so. Like go out there and finish second in the East. Go win a bunch of matches and prove that we don't know what we're talking about. Because right now, looking at what they've got, um, it's a little hope in a prairie, prayer-ish. Um, the attack seems pretty solid to me. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but we're at like 20 guys now, I think.
No, Sean, let's just go. I mean, since we've
Let's go
already
right
got it
into it.
going, let's just start off with the men's side right
So
now.
it's men's
And
side, like so the goalkeeper. Let's just start from the back. This is typically the way you walk through a roster, right?
sure,
So, start at the back. The two goalkeepers are fine. The Carlos and Carlos. Okay, they'll continue to iron
S-
sharpens iron. They'll
serviceable.
right. They're not. Neither one of them are best 11 type guys, but they're fine.
Hmm.
Um, in the back line today, we signed Callum Montgomery, who is a 28-year-old Canadian, another Canadian from Calvary FC, um,
Of the CPL.
of the Canadian Premier League. He's not a midget. He's 6'3", so kudos on buying a center back, on buying a defender who is over 6 feet tall, which we had not previously done. Um, and but he's a career lower league like journeyman center back.
Hmm.
He's 28. He has he last year he was a starter for Cavalry FC, who I think finished second or third in the CPL. Like they were a pretty good team um, at that level. But he had to work. That was his third year with the team, and he was not even. I think he played 6 matches his first year in Cavalry. So it's not like he came in there and was immediately like, "Oh, this guy is our best defender." Um, and prior to that, he after coming out of college, he was drafted by FC Dallas. But they really like he got shunted off to their USL League One team in 2019, the 1 year it was around before training camp was up. Like, they he had 2 weeks with the big team and they were like, okay, you're going to North Texas. So he's just, he's not a guy who has passed the sniff test at the top level, at the first division level ever. And I would be surprised if he's really coming in to challenge for starting minutes. Um, However, if we're going to stick with a 3-man back line, if we don't start Callum, then you're probably starting Rio Hope Gund, who again is like he is an excellent athlete, and it looks like could be a pretty good USL defender, but he's 5'11", and playing as a right center back in a three, you're going to get face back post crosses like all day long, from the right wing. Um, so from the opposing right wing. I'm sorry, I don't know if that's clear. How
No,
people are
that's
visualizing it. The right center back is guarding the back post when the ball's on the opposition's right, and you like a guy. Size covers a lot of things in that situation when the
sure.
ball's in the air. So I would worry about that. Now, before we signed Callum, this was looking very much like a 4-3-3 team to me. Um, now that they added Ryan Williams at some point, I think that might have been the day before they talked. So since we talked, they've added Ryan Williams and Kobe Hernandez-Foster back to the roster.
Thankfully,
Thankfully,
Kobe is
yeah.
back. Yes.
And that means you can see it's pretty easy to imagine a 4-3-3 side
Hmm.
with what we got now. It's Aiden Stanley on the left, Devin and Michael in the middle, probably Rio Hope Gund on the right, or maybe Haruki Yamazaki. Although playing in a four, you need a little more defense out of your outside backs, and I don't know that Haruki's got enough there. To play as a regular as a right fullback, as a right wing back. Okay, he's got the latitude to kind of wander around and get into space. As a right fullback, you kind of got to stay more at home, and you got to be able to run with a guy, and that worries me a little bit. So anyway, that's the back four: Aiden, Devin, Michael, Rio, probably. Then Ryan backing up a pair of eights in Kobe Hernandez Foster and Maxi Rodriguez left and right. Um, Ate's playing outside in on the left. Alex Dalu playing more as kind of a winger on the right. And Darren Smith up top. That looks like a pretty decent 11 to me. Um, there's a lot of questions in there, but you could see how they could play. Um, where probably Aiden is going to be a little more attacking and Rio stay more at home, with Alex providing the width on the right, while Aiden provides it on the left, giving Ates the freedom of the pitch to, slash at goal. Um, and at this point, your question is, how's Darren going to fit into this? But that looks okay. The the questions for me come a little bit further down in the roster where it seems like we've got a lot of guys we're hoping get healthy. Aiden Stanley, we're hoping he gets healthy. Like we don't
Gets
really
healthy
know
and stays healthy.
and stays healthy.
Mhm.
Lijop, he's our kind of our midfield depth at this point, and you know, along with Haruki question mark if Rio takes over at right back. But if we play a five, then Haruki's going to start at right wing back, and Rio would be the starter there, and you've got an extra center midfielder. Do you play Ryan and Maxi? Do you play Ryan and Kobe? Do you play Maxi and Kobe and Ryan's, uh, watching from the bench to begin with? Um, a lot of questions to answer in preseason. A lot of, and it is at this point, I don't have strong opinions about any of them. I think that um, this is a set of pieces that could be fit together. But when I look at what's going on elsewhere in the league, I think that what we're looking at is a roster that's falling like further and further behind um, the teams that we're ostensibly chasing um, in terms of top line quality, in terms of depth, in terms of like the coherence of the strategy. Now, having said that, there's also we have the outlier of like Charleston Battery, who at this point, like they're putting some interesting players together, but like it looks bananas to me. Like I don't see how they all play together. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, well, Ben's doing something. He's cooking. Like, but the thing about it is Ben is proven in this league. Like
Oh, sure.
I think he's the best like tinkering manager in the USL Championship. And you know, I'm really interested. I kind of like the idea of Ben having some weirdly shaped pieces to try to put together, just because I know he'll cook. Like I'm like I just want to see what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so that's my questions. Like Ben Morris is your backup striker. Like is he going to be around? Like this is like his fourth knee injury in the last like 9 years. Like
Mhm.
is he is he going to be capable of playing high level football
That's
again?
a fair question too.
Um, and like that's we don't have another. I guess we could start Ates up there or Alex, but these are guys who would rather play off the wing. Jesse L, okay, he could play withdrawn, but he'd rather play off the wing. Connor was hurt at the end of the year, and he's had a struggle getting healthy a lot of times during these seasons. And he's a guy who could be super valuable if he's not in the doghouse and he's healthy. Um, provide minutes during the many parts of the year where where the starters are not going to be able to go like throughout the whole match. Um, so I don't know. I'm just I look at this and I'm like I am worried. However, I do know that it is a bit early. Um, and we're still signing people. So it's like, okay, this could still come together. What worries me more is that it seems like we're fishing from a shallower pool than we have in the past. We keep like when we needed a center back who wasn't like, you know, who was who wrote a six down in the imperial thing to begin his height, not a five. I want six in the feet measurement, please. Um, and to get one, we went to like, you know, a dude who was kind of who was out of contract with his CPL team and who's never really been great anywhere. Oh, okay, cool. Another CPL guy, another, you know, his coach for the last 3 years and GM is a dude named Tommy Wheeldon. That's who we did this deal with. Tommy Wheeldon. Tommy Wheeldon and Danny Dicchio worked together on the Canadian youth national teams back in 2014, 2016, that time. So like again, it's just like we've gone from the Rolodex of a dude who has worked all over world football to the Rolodex of a dude who has worked in the you know, Canadian national team program until 2 years at Sacramento and then here. So it's fucking O Canada all day, every day.
And you know what,
Um,
Sean? That would be fine if, there was some confidence instilled that these types of moves are going to work.
we ever
Um,
once got somebody that we were like, oh, well, that was nice.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and that's exactly it. It just hasn't happened. I mean,
Right.
we were talking on the last show that one of our, I don't want to say standout um CPL players, because he most certainly wasn't, but Marcello Pelosi was a massive, massive dud. And we're talking about, that being possibly one of the worst signings, if not the worst signing in Detroit City FC history from a professional standpoint. You talk about a guy that was just completely ineffective, who, they
Right.
gave a fair amount of time to, in the beginning of the season. Then
Yeah.
he kind of fell off the face of the earth,
Well, I
the
mean,
second
like
half of the year.
it feels to me like you know, it's, like, it's one of those things where like this dude did not pass the sniff test. Like
No.
as soon as I watched film of him, I was like, oh, this is a terrible signing. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Um, and you're just hoping like, okay, please, maybe, there's something I'm not seeing,
Hmm.
and like, he comes out and plays and like within 10 minutes it's like, ah, fuck, like this guy is just as bad as I thought. God damn it.
Yeah, and it gets worse too, Sean, because you're sitting here, you're playing in a better league. The USL Championship is a better league than the Canadian Premier, you
I
know.
at this point I think USL League One might be a better league
Yeah, and
than
it's and,
the
and it's
Canadian
and it's
Premier
just
League.
the more you play, I mean, you saw some quality coaches here in USL Championship too. The more you get exposed. And that's what happened with Darren Smith, who I think Darren Smith is a fine player, but we saw throughout the season him continually get exposed. You get the tape out there, you get other coaches scouting it, and all of a sudden it's harder for you to be more effective. Now you take a guy who is just completely did not belong in Marcello Pelosi, and it just gets, very bad to, you know, unconscionable. Like it's like we said, it's just a horrible, horrible, um, pairing. It's a horrible,
Right.
it was just down bad. And
Yeah. Well, when you see like, like everybody's been around some kind of like pickup sport that where people are playing it seriously. And when someone like shows like a weakness or, like what happens is they wind up getting targeted by everybody on the other team. Like if
yeah.
you're anybody who's nearby, like they're in their mind, they're thinking like they're all thinking, oh, I can have this guy. So
Hmm.
like every touch is contested in every direction because you've signaled that you are about to be the victim.
Hmm.
And all the predators are like, fuck yes, let's victimize somebody. Um, and that, that watching that happen in a professional match is a horrifying thing because, generally you've weeded out the guys who, like, when you see it happen, a lot of times it's really young guys, who like it's a risk. Everybody knows like, okay, we just got to kind of at some point we got to rip off the band-aid and they guys got to start playing. So
Hmm.
hey, sorry kid, like this is gonna be rough. And that's and that's when you'll see those kind of situations where like, oh, okay, and like the kid comes out is not very confident and the older pros are like, oh, it's time to it's time to crush this kid's spirit. Let's fucking go. And to see it happen to like a 27-year-old,
And that's
it's like, oh,
and that's what was so remarkable about some of these players too, when we made the jump from Nisa to USL Championship, when you were talking about guys like, you're just kind of wondering, how are they going to make that transition? And you looked at a guy like Stevie and Nate in particular too. I remember when we made the jump and we kept Nate. I remember, as much as people don't want to admit it at this point, considering what he's done, he only went out and established himself as one of the best keepers in USL Championship while he was there. But
Yep.
I still remember when we were retaining Nate, when everything was first getting going in USL Championship, people couldn't believe it. Like, what are we doing? He's not going to be able to transition. We need a guy like Evan Lorio back, for
There
going to be
was
competitive.
it wasn't just supporters who felt that way. Like,
No, it was everybody. Yeah, it was a lot of
I
people.
mean, I think, like I think even Trevor would tell you he was always looking for a guy who looked more like a keeper. you know,
So even Trevor was
it was
was
kind of like he seems kind of small, like Well, like I can't remember who's the kid that got battered by like Chattanooga. Um,
Oh,
what was his name?
he play with Stumptown too?
Yes, I think so. Oh, he's keeper. He like I remember.
Think it was Kevin something.
I don't remember his name, but I remember when they went to like I remember Tiffany coming back from picking him up um at the airport, and she walked into the clubhouse, and I was like, "How'd it go?" And she kind of like shook her head, like, mm. And I was like, and I knew
I think
what
it was
that
Kevin
meant was.
Gonzalez.
I knew what that meant was he's not as tall as he said he was. Yeah,
One of
it
those things
was
where
like,
Tiffany's like, where is he?
yeah.
He looks down and he's down there.
Oh, oh, it's another,
Excuse me,
yeah.
ma'am.
Like, oh, we were really hoping for like an actual 6'2" guy, not a dude who's saying he's 6'2" and he's like 5'11" and 3/4, you know, wearing
But
some thick
again,
socks, trying to get to 6 feet, like, okay.
I mean, that was what was so great about that team though, is like that first USL Championship team, because you had an undersized keeper who was also an accountant,
Right.
um, going out
Yeah.
and like, okay, let's roll with it, and he only became one of the best keepers in USL Championship while he
Yeah.
was
Yeah. I mean,
there.
the thing is like, it's easy to like, I mean, it's not like the fate, like Nate and Stevie succeeding so wildly in USL Championship is like written on the stars. Like they worked their like I think there was that little bit of terror that like that you've got this opportunity and you're going to blow it, you're going to get shown up or whatever. Because man, did they train hard between like the NISA year and the USL champ. Like, well, I mean, really from the time we went part time to the time they went pro, that was like Stevie was playing all the time. He was there, uh, in his boots, you know, 5 nights a week, and Nate was there almost literally every day. He like I think he was keeper for a couple of pretty serious indoor teams that were playing for like cash,
Hmm.
and then he'd come in and do like lunchtime workouts. I think he would like take a long lunch from his accounting job and come in and work out solo in the abandoned because there was nothing going on at that point. You know, at noon on a Tuesday, you could come in and turn the lights on and kick it around if you wanted to.
I always thought that first season too, Pato was
Oh,
pretty
like
good,
like a
except he
like
just got kind of ran into the ground
yeah.
because there
Well, I
was
mean,
nobody else to play.
like I really feel like kind of underappreciated the miracle of that roster.
Yeah.
How delicately balanced it was because we had some we had Francis. Oh, that was the second year, wasn't it? Francis wasn't the
No,
first year, was
no, I
he?
thought Francis was the first
Was
year.
he first year? He was your first. Yeah. Also, like
Yeah.
Francis was like a miss. and I think was a decent amount of money. But we got so much out of Antoine,
Yeah.
Openo, and of course Maxi was was ready to show the USL like what they were missing. Like we had, Connor was good. We had just enough guys who were like, "Fuck yeah, we can excel at this level to be pretty, to be very good." And right down the spine of the team, right? Nate, Stevie, Maxi, Connor, like Pato, um, and the the other thing is Pato. Like I was disappointed to see him go.
Oh, me too.
Um, because just such an intelligent, selfless player. It's such a rare thing to find in someone who plays an attacking position
Hmm.
to be almost too team oriented. Occasionally you're like, Potter, just go ahead. Like you shooting is an option. Go ahead. um, and so many of his goals were like clearly the product of a really sharp mind, where he'd like just arrive in this position where it's like then it was a matter of just sort of passing it back into the net. Like it wasn't like he was doing this thunderous ball striking or whatever. He was like his game was in his mind, and it's not surprising to me that he's so effective, even at as a relatively senior striker now in USL League One. Like, yeah, I think he could probably play until he's like 35. Like, um,
He's on a good team,
yeah, good
good
team
club
on,
right now.
and like the kind of team we used to be, I think, where it was
The
very
unit
like
Nola,
kind of
yeah.
a spirited, very much, kind of like guys who were in each other's lives
Sure.
and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know that we have that now, but maybe that's
Former City
inevitable.
player coaching him too.
Yep, yep. Well, I mean, like that's the thing. Like when people talk about when we've talked about Polisi in the past, and I've had other people talk about like, well, what about like we've had other guys who came here didn't play much, Vincenzo, and I'm like, well, Vincenzo was coming here specifically to finish his playing career and start his coaching career, and to
Hmm.
like kind of work with Trev, like that was he was three-quarters a coach at that point. Like he wasn't really there to play a lot.
Sure.
Um, And so, but that wasn't the thing with Marcello. He was here. He was, taking a roster slot and getting paid to
Hmm.
play and could, in the parlance of the NBA, old school NBA scouts, can not play.
Um, I think I share the similar concerns. I mean, because when we're harkening back to these past teams, you look at those past teams too, and it was a cohesive unit that they had there, and that's part. I think that's part of the reason why they were so successful. You look at this team now, though, and I think you could go ahead and you can come. You could. Not much has been done. I mean, it's bringing the band back together in a lot of sense. Um, like you're mentioning, you have Atez and you have Darren Smith up at the top, which is fine. I think that's
Like,
serviceable.
honestly, with Ates and Alex Dalu, I would rather have Pato starting up top. Like because you just want someone selfless who's going to feed the guys who can score.
Yes.
So like a Bobby Firmino type.
Uh-huh.
Um, and that's like Pato down to the ground.
And I
Um,
and again too, like I just don't think. I mean, we've kind of seen this mixture already last season with Ates and Darren Smith kind of up top. Like I said, that's not bad, but is that enough to, you know, get us firmly within a playoff spot in the East, to the sense of, possibly, hosting a home playoff match. I think the midfield is fine. I think it's good. I think it's certainly better than what it was last year. On paper right now, Maxi another year older. Thank God that's not the only thing that we're running with here, to start the season. Kobe's return was was massive in that sense.
Yeah.
But like you were highlighting too, kind of the back end of things, the back line, um, uh, you know, plenty of question marks right there. I don't think anybody can actually come out and say that our back line is better this year than what it was last year. And our back line has been our entire identity. I mean,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
what has, carried us in much regard, considering, how many problems that we've had scoring goals.
Yeah,
Um,
we've never we haven't entered a season. I'm curious to see what alignment they're going to put out there.
mhm,
Um, because Michael as a full-time center back, I'm curious about that. I'm curious about Michael as a full-time starter, I guess. Um, there are some weird for some reason the US the guys that do the John Morrissey and the two other dudes. Um,
um,
I don't know who the fuck they are. They do the USL stuff.
yeah.
I listened to their like preseason talk about whatever, and they seemed baffled at they seemed to think that there's no way that Devin Amamensa and Michael Bryant could be a center back pairing. For some reason, they think that Devin can't play center back. Like he can only play outside. And it's like I don't think they understand. Like Devin's 6'1". He's not small, and he's also one of the thickest center backs in the league. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? He's a bounce off you guy. People bounce off of him. So yeah, with the Stars he played in a four. Like it's only coming here that he ever shifted to this position. I don't understand that. I think that we can play in a four, and I think we likely will, just because we've only got four center backs, and um, you know, if you're running these three guys out and playing them 90 minutes every week, you are going to get injuries, and that means that you're counting on Callum Montgomery to start for you, and you're going to start like not leaking goals, but kind of like explosively shitting them out.
Hmm.
So, um, it's a concern. Another concern for me is that we did have trouble turning with the ball last year, and Ryan Williams was part of that. Um, and against pressure. And I don't see in this group like maybe the addition, like there's things they could do, I think, to play out. But I think if we go to a four, we're going to have a harder time playing out, because a five allows you just kind of some slightly better angles, slightly more angles to account for in your little, like pressing shadow. And a four has less and is a little easier to account for. So that worries me a little bit. But like I should caveat everything, like however long this podcast is that like a lot of this is the product of me like just hyper worrying about shit. But this is why I play Football Manager.
I don't think I mean, Sean, honestly, I don't know if it's hyper worrying. I mean, because it's not like we don't have a sample size,
Right.
for lack
Well,
of a
yeah.
better term, when it comes to this particular team. I
Yeah.
mean, our sample size is coming from last season, with
And
a lot of these
for
guys.
many of these players, multiple seasons.
Yeah, multiple seasons,
Like I
absolutely.
know Maxi Rodriguez's game really well, and honestly,
Yes.
okay. So let's talk about some of the possible upsides. Like let's say that you do, let's say you start in a five, and you decide you're going to like throw caution to the wind. You're going to put the two creative, deep lying guys together. You're going to have Maxi on the right. You're going to have Kobe on the left, and you're going to, I don't know what metaphor you're going to use with them, but basically, you've got shared responsibilities defensively here. And if you're it, like, somebody's going to have to hit the bench if we can't manage this. So,
Hmm.
figure it out. And I do think that their games kind of can dovetail. I think Kobe likes to likes to play from deeper and start center and center left, where Maxi's first thought when he's looking for space is to roll out onto the right wing somewhere and like kind of look things over from that direction. Like it seems like they both like to check things from different angles. Like they'll look at it and then they'll kind of run 15 yards wider and look at it again. And so those things can potentially dovetail fairly nicely where, so they're not going to be kind of treading all over each other. And there is the possibility that they could, combine in the middle. Um, uh, because they both are, they're eights. Neither one of them is a great ball winner, but together they might have enough, you know? And if we could make that work, it would be really cool. It would be a really cool, um, like expressive kind of football, because those are both players that like to express themselves. The other thing that could be cool in that situation is that if we're playing a five, then you could have an opportunity for Rookie to play on the right wing, and he I think is a person who has a lot of creative capacity. And he has to kind of rein in his red ass. He tends to have to get into like vendettas and blood feuds within a
He
few minutes of
he
entering the pitch.
does.
So like needs to kind of like weed is legal in Michigan, like find your mellow spot. Um and
Sean's gonna send him some brownies or some
right,
pop
exactly.
rolls.
Exactly. Here's some gummies.
Here's
Just
some
like,
gummies.
you know, yeah. Um
He does
so
though. I mean, that's not a lie. I mean, he does get intense sometimes. He does get physical, um, which I don't know if I guess I was always a little surprised to see that out of him.
yeah,
He doesn't look
I
like a guy that is completely, that has that streak in him, I guess.
well, I think I have a feeling, um I have a feeling that he's, like this tells me that he's got a little bit of the streets in him. You know what I mean? Like he's had to deal with people who are just like, you look kind of like a pussy. I'm just going to try to like thug on you, and see if that'll shake you up. And like, so he flips the fuck out when he's like, oh, you want to see something, and like I'm completely sympathetic with that whole vibe. Like, yeah, that is essentially how I am. So. Um, I'm I'm down. But as a professional, it's like, hey, you want to stay on the pitch? We need you, bro. Um, and I think that could be really great. Of course, what tends to happen is once you get all your dream creative players in there, you realize that what you're looking at is a fucking sieve, and you're giving up like nine good chances a half, and you start looking around for like a 6'3" Canadian who can just kick a lump out of someone, and you throw him on. So like that's my initial dream. Like if I was setting this up as a football manager save, it would be in a five with Rio Hope Gund at right center back, because I think he's going to be an exceptional passer out of the back. And really, in my vision of him as a right back, he's like an Arsenal right back, right? He's like Ben White. He's a center back playing right back. Maybe he's coming forward some, just to shake things up, but that's not really his thing. He's really the third center back, and it's kind of the thing we've done in the past where Michael has been the right back nominally, but this would be much more really ingrained. Like he is actually the right back. He is actually holding the width, and that space in front of him is there for Maxi to fuck with. If you've got a bombing forward winger, then if Maxi slides over there, now he's burdened with responsibility. You know what I mean? Like if Reese is running past him, for example, then when he goes over there for his little contemplation spot, well, now it's not his contemplation spot. He's the right back. you know. So
Where
uh,
does I think one of the most one of the most intriguing signings for me this season was Alex, or this offseason so far was Alex DeLu. Where do you see him? Where does he fit
I think
into
he's a starting right winger. I think he comes in. He's the one signing who's like a guy added in over the top of a current guy,
hmm
and that's Jesse L. And I think Jesse L. Like I love Jesse L. as a like spark off the bench guy, you
hmm
know, because I think he really can like if you give him 20 minutes to just like you know go off, um, and he's got all his energy saved up for that, then you don't have to worry so much about like whether he's getting mauled in possession. As you're trying to establish, you're not trying to establish anything. You're putting him on because you
Sure.
want to spark, and he can certainly provide that. So I think it's fantastic, and I hope that's what the plan is. And I see Alex as the starting right winger. Um, uh, I hope that he and Ates can develop some synchrony, um, because I think they're going to be like transitioning into each other's, like, doing, uh, like crossing into each other's space a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if he and Ates can get that synchronized, but honestly, if we do well this year, I think it's probably like Ates Juf is having a season.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like he's the guy who's got the juice. He's the guy who could make it happen. If he just comes out hot and you know displays just a touch better shot selection. Um, that's the thing with Ates is that a lot of times he will settle for a 25 yarder in transition, which the one or two times a year that it goes in is like fucking astonishing, right? But like the other like 35 transitions, you're like, okay, well maybe there's some of the time in there you could have, you know, drawn them out. Like you're good on the dribble, like draw the defender a little more, or make them step to you and give it up, or like he does tend to settle for just hit and hope stuff. Um, but I think he's played on a lot of teams that didn't create many chances, you know, and so you get into bad habits.
And I think
Um,
and I think Ates too is kind of the wild card too on all of this. When you look towards the last season, you kind of play that game of, where would this team be if, and would they be better than the last playoff spot in the East if if Ates was given a better shot earlier on in the season, and
yeah,
he was
I think
seeing
that
more regular minutes
right,
earlier on in the season instead of kind of this, this mop up, um, kind of like this mop up duty in the 87th or something
right.
like that when
Well,
it seemed like he would come in.
and also pertinently, maybe Ben Morris doesn't suffer yet another knee injury if he isn't starting to get ground down by the number of minutes he's, you know, um,
Sure.
like there's two bad decisions happening there at once. um, and really, I mean, it was Ben blowing his knee out that opened the door for Ates to get minutes because until then it was not happening. And I was starting to hear rumors that he was kind of freaking out. Was like, I got to get out of here. Like I came here to get minutes, and this guy won't play me. What? I don't know what to do. Um, and then as it happens, he eventually had to get played and took his chances and um, kind of we sneaked in the playoffs thanks to his
And that's the
goals.
thing too, is it all comes down to, are guys going to fall into the doghouse? Are we going to see instances where just Kobe is not a factor? down the stretch of a season, or down, in a
Yeah.
stretch of an important series of matches,
Yeah.
where
Yeah. I
Kobe
like
is
that.
just kind of sitting on the bench and not doing anything. And um,
Like we talked a little bit about this. I grew up in a very authoritarian coaching time. And, I think that the rest of the kind of world of professional sport is like a decade, maybe 2 decades behind the NBA
mhm.
in terms of the evolution of this stuff. Because in the NBA, the player power is unquestioned. Um,
Sure, yeah, it's definitely a players' league. Definitely a
and
players' league.
I think that time to skip the cat boxes. God damn it! I keep thinking I need to turn this off on fucking on recording night. Um, and NBA coaches understand their remit to be like, I'm here to help you be as awesome as you think you are, and I'm here to help your results be as awesome as your performances. Um, and this like generalissimo model is just tired bullshit.
Hmm.
And we've seen it cost us repeatedly, and it's going to happen again this year, and I'm going to shit myself about it, and nothing's going to happen. Everybody's the people who really matter are head down, like hoping not to hear anything I have to say. um so great. I like, well, and I mean, what we're talking about here specifically is the fact that like Kobe got eventually effectively got benched down the stretch for no reason at all. And like we're thinking, oh, well, he must be hurt, and he's no, he's not hurt. He's just not playing. And this like, this kid had come in and turned the season around. Like,
Single-handedly.
his presence changed the way, like, like, we were, every team in the league knew that if you just man pressed us, we were fucked. We would turn the ball over so reliably that, like, eventually the defense is going to give out. And we went on that, like, long winless streak, um, like 13 games, something like that
Yeah, in the
in
middle
the
of the
league.
summer. In the middle of the
In the
summer.
middle of summer, and that was after Indy 11 got down against us, got down 2 goals against us, and then started pressing us,
Yep.
and we
And
like
that
started turning the
was,
ball over, turning it,
yep.
and that was Ryan and Jay, Ryan Williams and Jay Chapman, and we did like who could we turn to? Marcello Polisi. Oh, it's even
Yep.
worse. Um,
Because, yeah, because
and
Jope was hurt,
right,
and there was nothing else to go to.
there was nobody
Um,
else.
Nobody
So
else to go to.
yeah,
Maxi was in Rhode Island, and
yeah,
it wasn't there were no other options.
right, right, and so that like, and then Kobe comes in, and it's like it's not a surprise that his ability to turn under pressure and then beat a man and then surge into that space and play a telling ball. Well, that's the whole skill set that's necessary. Like Lijop has that too, but Lijop, is not healthy, so he hasn't been
Yep.
able to play. And like this is probably the prevailing tactical trend in the world right now is a switch to man orientation, um, kind of overall. Um, the entire last 30 years of football have been obsessed with space, use of space, the Cruyff construction, right? The ideas of that the Dutch brought us about like there's only so much space to play in, and you can control what space there is to play in with the offside line, and so you do all these things to compress and manipulate space, and then all of that led to kind of tiki-taka, which is like, elaborate defensive possession, which kind of led to gegenpressing, which is like, okay, we're going to dismantle all of that technique with pure physical effort. We're just going to run at you so hard that's going to break that up. And gegenpressing has kind of collapsed the whole possession house of cards. And this is its latest kind of outcropping is this man orientation, which is just man-to-man pressing. It's very simple. But what it does is it just works against the assumption that what you're trying to do is manipulate the arrangement of the defensive players in space. Now you're just trying to beat your dude, you
Mhm.
know? Um, and so we've got a bunch of footballers who are not ideally like that's not what they came up trying to do. That wasn't a valued skill set, really. A lot of American youth programs in the past would get frustrated with a kid who's trying to beat somebody on the dribble. Like the point is to, that everyone's going to play 4-3-3 and everyone's going to play possession. That's the proper way to play football. So there's been this counter revolution against that. And that's you see it in the Premier League now, where the physicality of the game is ramped up to an incredible degree, and it's just because of this man orientation. You're like, okay, if everybody's playing man to man, like then really being physical and being explosive is hugely important because it's not that hard to get like a quarter step on a guy. But then being able to like make that stand up is all down to your physicality, and that's what I'm saying is that I look at this roster and I don't I worry that we're going to get caught on the physicality part a little bit. Um,
Yeah, it doesn't seem like an physical team, especially, up front too. Um, Not that it was ever really a real physical team up front.
right. Maybe
I
when
can't remember.
Elvis was fit, those 5 matches that Elvis was
Yeah,
fit.
yeah. Um, but that's it.
Yeah.
When Zed was out there,
Z,
um,
yeah. Yeah, that's
I mean,
true. That's
there,
true. Yeah.
but Zed was never, when they made the jump to USL Championship, Zed was never, a go-to guy like he was maybe in, the NPSL or the
Right.
NISA days.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but
So, agreed. He was a situational dude.
sure.
Um, but it came up big for us in certain situations. So
Well, Sean, we're going to have our first taste of what this team is like on the pitch because they get going tomorrow, their
yeah.
first preseason friendly against new USL Championship side Jacksonville.
Oh,
Um, so
okay.
that's
So this will be like Jacksonville's first ever friendly.
I believe so. And
Or
this
for
is the
like
team
real
owned by
friendly.
Tim Tebow too.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
History being made tomorrow. I'm presumably it's in Florida. I think they have that whole Florida thing going on right now. They sure as hell aren't playing up here right now. Um,
Oh my God, no.
and this isn't the Canadian Premier League. Um,
Yeah, we're not we're not trying to toughen you up because
yeah.
we know that like the championship match is going to be played in like 5 inches of snow, so you just need to get ready.
Although we do start on March 14th at home, so
Uh,
there very well could be a foot
right
of
now it
snow on
feels
the
like it's
ground.
going to be like 3 degrees. It's like it's going to be so cold.
Well, Sean, do you want to go from one Danny coach team to another team that's coached by another Danny?
Let's do it.
All
Let's
right. So we're
ways
going from Danny
into
Dichio to
something.
Danny Evans on the women's indoor side of things. Sean, they went out and we are now what a couple weeks removed now from the last time we saw the women take to the indoor pitch, due to Indiana excuse me, Indiana United FC folding. I don't want to say mid-season. I don't know if they ever got off the if they ever stepped onto the indoor pitch
They
at all this
they filled
year.
out the paperwork and put in the initial check, and then
Yeah,
and then just like stopped answering calls.
they stopped answering calls and if you look at the league, they said they were expelled. That seems a little dramatic. I don't know if that was actually the case, but lo and behold, Indiana is no longer in the league. But they did have a game a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago against Youngstown, the same team that they played the
Uh,
first game of the season, which they annihilated then, and then they annihilated now. They beat them 18-3 this
yeah.
last meeting down in Youngstown. Sean, they have now outscored Youngstown this season 35-5 across those two meetings.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean that is vintage Detroit City FC indoor women's
Yeah,
team.
I just have to say, you're surprised they gave up not only the field goal but the safety. Really, you know, um, not surprised to see our women score 5 touchdowns, uh, but giving up a safety and a field goal, wow,
Yeah,
uh,
what
flip it.
yeah, I'm again, I mean I don't know. I don't know what Danny Evans is doing. I mean, I don't know how you give up a safety to a team. No, I'm just kidding. Um
So
I don't want to get on Danny Evans's bad side.
we need to get more douche broy. It's good for the ratings or something. Let's go. Clicks, baby.
This upcoming weekend, though, they're back in action. I mean, this team or this conference this year is much more competitive. I think Louisville, the team they're playing this upcoming weekend, though, I don't think they're in their conference. I think this is one of those add-on games.
Yeah, this is they're in the Great Lakes South.
Okay, so they've got Louisville coming up this weekend, who they played last season as well, and I want to say that they split those games with the Louisville Triumph last year. I think they lost one here at home and then they beat them on the road, if I
Okay.
remember that correctly. But this season, Sean, you went through and you kind of looked at the stats real quick between these two teams, and they're very, very similar
Right.
um,
Yeah.
in terms of just straight out stats.
Yeah. Well, okay. So they're in Louisville are in a league with like Cincinnati Sirens, who are a good
Good
side
team.
that we've
Yep.
played, over the years in a couple different leagues. And they are dominating that conference right now. They are first by a mile. They've played seven, won seven. What I noticed was that their goal difference is the same as ours.
Mhm.
We've won five, lost one. We've scored 57 goals and given up 25. They've scored 46 and given up 14. So they're a little stingier than we are and a little less high scoring. But that is also magnified massively by the fact that we racked up 35 goals against the Youngstown Nighthawks.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're looking at just kind of the raw stats, you would say Louisville Triumph are every bit a matchup for our women, and we don't run into a lot of matches where we're expecting a problem. You know what I mean? So,
Sure.
yeah, interesting. Uh, everyone to watch. If you don't have your tickets now, it's probably too late. But watch YouTube.
But this is, I mean, it's another good matchup for this team because I thought one problem they really had last year was just kind of, bulldozing
Right.
the competition.
I totally agree. But
Then it's kind of like when you're I've never played Football Manager, Sean.
um,
I'm going to be completely honest, but I could only imagine. I don't know if there's like an easy mode or a hard mode. Is
there's
there an easy mode and a hard mode?
well, no, but like you do get like preseason friendlies against amateur sides and
Okay.
stuff like that are just really like runouts. You're just trying to get minutes in everybody's legs. So you play an 11 and then you a different 11 for the second half or whatever. And those will get completely out of hand. Your professionals will win like 18-0.
But
Uh,
imagine too that like you're playing your entire regular season against teams like that.
right,
And then
exactly.
all of a
Like,
sudden when
that's
you
what
get
people
to,
want.
the
Like,
playoffs,
uh,
you are I don't want to say you're unprepared, but you maybe you're caught a little bit off guard. Maybe that's just another way of saying unprepared.
right.
I don't know.
Um,
Um
you know, it's the yeah those kinds of group dynamics going through things. Like you kind of just have to go through the things to get the group dynamics to follow.
Hmm.
And this is a new group, so like they've got to and like last year, they were a different group, and they just kind of didn't get any like experience having to be resilient. Like
Sure.
they just took, every match was basically within 10 minutes you've established that you are absolutely top dog, and you probably have like 4 or 5 goal advantage to show for it. If not, you've got a small advantage to show for it, and you've thoroughly demoralized the other team. Like they know, like, oh god, like we may be only down 2-0, but we are getting killed.
I think
um, and then in the championship match, they had the shoe was on the other foot. Like they had to try to like, find themselves. And then it's a thing you do as a group. If you haven't done it as a group, like, yeah, I do agree that this is going to serve, if they, as long as they can make the playoffs, this should serve them in good stead for being competitive, when it's hard. So,
And I think that's the word I was looking for, Sean. So thank you. Is resiliency, um, being resilient, developing that resiliency throughout the season. Something that you can't really do, like you mentioned, when you get up, um, 6-0 within the first quarter of a match, and all of a sudden you're just kind of, running through the motions. Okay, this team is done. Let's just get through this and we'll be all set. This year, I mean, matches are closer. In some sense, they may be playing from behind sometimes, which is great. When you're playing better teams, that's what's going to happen. Like you mentioned, you develop that resiliency, which is only going to serve you better, once you start playing, once you get to the playoffs, if you do make it to the playoffs, um, because you start meeting perhaps those same type of teams that been playing, throughout the regular season, and in some cases better teams than
I
what you've seen throughout the regular season. So,
think, uh, um, yeah, you see this happen a lot in team sports where, like a super talented team will not quite make it in the playoffs, in the crucible.
mhm,
And then a slightly less talented version of kind of the same team, but a later, less talented version does do well in the playoffs because they've gone through that stuff, and they've developed this resilience, which is kind of like a muscle, kind of like a thing um that is not it's not natural to respond to overwhelming negative stimulus with like defiance. That's not the way people are designed. You react to stimulus, you know naturally. You're going to get incredibly discouraged by just getting your face kicked in.
sure,
And so it's you have to learn how to recover, learn how to establish, okay, well, I'm gonna prioritize some dignity for myself here in the next few moments, right? Like I'm gonna climb back into this as a competitive matter, and not worry about like winning. Just worry about like I'm gonna get some respect. I'm gonna have some self-respect, maybe some respect from them. I'm gonna play a little better. I'm gonna simplify, be sharper. Like if you never have that conversation with yourself, and the group never has to have that conversation with each other about like, you know listen, maybe you're not the greatest passer, so maybe just keep it simple. Um, the If you've never had to think about that, like it's hard to do in the moment. So yeah, I do, and I think that's why those a lot of times those sort of more balanced teams that are not dominant do better in playoffs because they're not shook by having to compete because they've been competing all along.
um, So we got that game coming up this weekend against Louisville Triumph. Sean, we didn't mention this before we hit the record button,
Uh-oh.
but the women's outdoor team, USL W League, they released the Great Lakes Division. Um, and they are one less team heading into this upcoming season. And this kind of fits in because they got really competitive indoor, side and much more of a competitive division. And it seems like this is going to be a much more competitive division because the Toledo Villa have exited. They've gone to another division. I can't remember the name of can't remember which division they're going to. But now, Sean, they have a division comprised of only five teams now, which is AFC Ann Arbor, Detroit City FC, Kalamazoo FC,
Okay.
Midwest United, and then
Yeah.
Union Macomb. That seems
Yeah.
like a gauntlet
That
this
is a
year.
that is a really great. That is like the old Big Ten,
Yeah.
like it's just an intense. Like every match is tough. Oh wow, that is great. I am I am kudos to USLW because that is the best division in the country.
You have to think so. Yeah.
Like
I mean,
every match is a banger. That's fantastic. I
yep.
didn't realize that Toledo Villa were they're probably hooked up with like Cincinnati and
Yeah.
Columbus and
Yes.
Cleveland and all that.
And even Toledo Villa last year, they weren't
They weren't
awful.
bad. No,
No,
they were
I
pretty good, I thought. You
Yeah,
know.
I mean it's not like what a couple of seasons ago when you had like Michiana or something in there where, City was just going out there and, putting up like six or seven in an
Yeah.
outdoor game. But yeah, no, that's yeah, when this came across, you're looking at that and you're like, damn, I mean there's no weekends off when it comes to the women's outdoor team or
Already
season this
it has
upcoming year.
begun.
Um, so yeah, stay
Dude.
tuned for that. See, they haven't announced Danny yet as the head coach, have they? I mean,
No,
is
they
it is
haven't.
it is it assumed that Danny Evans is going to be the head coach of the women's side?
That has been my assumption, and I believe the assumption of the uh, of people who are not me. Namely like Dave Dwahey, who's one of the owners and presumably has a lot to say about it. But they've zagged where I thought they were zigging in the past. So maybe they've got you know a misogynist freak who can come in here and just ruin things for us. Like
Yeah.
I got fingers crossed. Um,
Um. Anyways, though, Sean, is there anything else
sorry,
tonight you wanna?
no, no, I'm good.
All right.
We'll be back to see whether we've signed anybody in a couple weeks.
All right. So for Sean, I am Adam. Everybody have a great night, and we will see you next time.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this episode of Make City Make Spence. To see not only this one, but prior Make City Make Spence episodes, go to detroit.themajorsports.com where you can check out all of our catalog and all things going on with not only Detroit City FC centric content, but any Majors Detroit content in general. Additionally, you can find us on YouTube at The Majors TV. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you already haven't yet. And you can also find us on wherever you check social media stuff out. We're on Twitter and Instagram at TMSNX Detroit, Blue Sky at TMSNX Detroit, .bsky.social, and The Majors Detroit on Facebook. Additionally, wherever you check out your podcast, be sure to not only like and subscribe, but leave a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out all of our efforts here at The Majors Detroit. Thanks again, and catch you next time.